Let's take the conversation this morning to Liberia, where they are grappling with a shortage of rice, causing panic buying and anxiety. The country's staples started disappearing from shops and marketplaces several weeks ago, prompting hundreds of desperate rice retailers and consumers in the capital, Monrovia, to spend days and nights in queues to scoop small quantities of the commodity from the warehouse of a region company that still has a small consignment. Some of them have gone on to profiteer, reselling the commodity at skyrocketing prices, whilst the police have been deployed to assist the company's security as crowds of anxious people try to force their way into its premises. The current scarcity comes few months after President George Weah approved $14 million to key rice importers in the country as subsidy for the continued availability of the country's staple in the wake of high cost of freight. We're now joined by human rights activist Professor Adam Kine. He joins us live from Liberia. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, now let's talk about this development. It's triggered loads of conversation on and off news platforms, and the shortage seems to be the worst in recent years. First of all, let's ask, is there actually a shortage? Because according to the news, there is shortage, but President George Weah is saying there's no shortage. So I think the first question to ask is, what is the current situation? Is there really a rice shortage?
Well, according to reliable, let me first talk about my personal experience. Last weekend, I was in Gibi, one of the counties in Liberia, doing a project. So we went out to purchase some rice for our project, 3 bags of rice. We usually pay around $14 for rice, but once I entered the local store, they were asking me to pay, and everybody else to pay about $18. I met people online trying to get rice for $18. And so as a strong advocate, I began to advocate. I thought they were hoarding rice prices because there was no situation. And so I advocated as much as I can, created a little scene. And then after which I told him that the local store provider that I wasn't going to pay $18 for rice, that I was going to pay $14 for rice. And so we went on for a few hours, and later on, he was able to sell me the rice for $14, but with some level of stipulation that I had to purchase almost a box of macaroni, which cost almost $21. And I asked why he's proposing that. He said because the local or the importers were demanding that they purchase rice with some other items that is not refrigerated, like television, macaroni, and so when they bring it to the local store, that people will have to do likewise. So I was able to purchase 3 bags of rice, but purchase a box of macaroni. But yes, as it is, there is a scarcity of rice in the country at the moment.
I mean, this encounter that you've narrated is not unique to you. There have been several other people who have reported online not being able to buy rice as they've been made to buy other things as well as the rice. Now, we know that rice is a staple in Liberia, and scarcity or shortage of rice would have grave and dire consequences on food security and poverty in the country. Let's talk about President George Weah. Now, we know that he did campaign, or he did say that throughout his tenure, that there would be no shortage of rice, as he's made adequate provisions to ensure that even during and after his tenure, there would be no rice scarcity. Now, what we're seeing is quite different. Why would you say that this is happening now? And is he really able to live up to the promise of no rice scarcity during his tenure?
Well, I would first begin by saying rice is a political commodity in Liberia. So once we address, or if we attempt to address that issue, it must be addressed with some level of caution and sensitivity, because in the 70s we had a rice riot that became a political upheaval. However, if I were to speak to this issue at the moment, I think the president to be informed at the moment, because I have gathered reliable sources after I was contacted yesterday to make sure that I was not just speaking without substantial source to validate my claim. And so as of September 24th, the president needs to know this, that we have 4 importers or 5 importers in the country There is one that had just sent an importation request to the minister that has not been approved yet. But as of now, as we speak, the 4 importers in the country, UCR, SW, SWA, K&K, Fortard, and Corporation, there is no buffer stock in storage. I was at 4 storages yesterday. There was no rice in those warehouses. And technically, Liberia rely on 1 million rice per month to survive, 25K bags of rice, but there's no rice, no buffer stock. According to reliable sources, what I gathered yesterday, as of the 24th of September, the UCI has zero quantity of buffer stock. Schwab has zero quantity of buffer stock. K&K had zero quantity of buffer stock. But the Futa Corporation has 68,208 bags of rice as of the 24th of September. And the Fuanin brothers also had 357,854 bags of rice, which is to suggest that there is currently in the country 400,000 plus bags of rice. Liberia cannot survive with that. We need 1 million buffer stock of rice in the country in order to keep this form of scarcity in the country. But for now, there is no rice in either of these warehouses. So I think the president needs to be informed, those that are around him. Again, I said this is a sensitive political issue. Once you talk about rice, it's a political commodity, so I must keep precaution so that I do not create panic. But as of yesterday I was there. I visited those warehouses. There was no rice in stock at all.
But this is not really the first time that we're having conversations or we're hearing about this. This followed a similar pattern like last year, after which an increment came up. And we do hope that this is brought under control and that there really isn't scarcity or whatever the issue is sorted. Thank you very much, Professor Adam Kine, for your time this morning on Breakfast Central.